The United Nations has more resolutions against Israel than every other country combined. Do you know that just in the last year, that's the case when you compare the dozens of resolutions against Israel compared to hardly a peep when it comes to atrocities with far higher death counts and human rights abuses. I want to show you a clip of a Yemenite pro-Israel Arab wonderful guy, Luai Ahmed, who goes to the United Nations and asks them this question where in his own country he's experiencing severe atrocities. Have a watch of the United Nations being utterly exposed for its deep anti-Israel obsession.
Nothing justifies the appalling manner in which Israel has conducted its military operations in Gaza, which consistently breached fundamental principles of international humanitarian law.
I give the floor to
Such rubbish. Nothing. Everything justifies what Israel did in Gaza and is doing in Gaza.
United Nations Watch.
Hi, Commissioner. My name is Luai Ahmed, and I come from Yemen. I ask the UN, the Arab League, and everyone who has been raising the Palestinian flag since October 7, where is the flag of Yemen? In my country, 500,000 people have died in the last 10 years. The biggest famine and humanitarian crisis in modern history. Why does no one care when 500,000 Yemenis die? What about Sudan? In less than 2 years, more than 150,000 people have been killed. Where is the flag of Sudan? What about Syria? 500,000 Syrians have been killed. Where is the Syrian flag? High Commissioner, why is it that when Arabs kill millions of Arabs, no one bats an eye? Where is the outrage and where are the protests? Why don't you mention the Houthis in Yemen who have spent millions of dollars firing missiles at Israel instead of feeding my starving people? May I ask why your report mentions Israel 188 times, yet fails to mention the Islamic regime in Iran even once? How can you speak about the conflict while ignoring the party that has armed, trained, and funded terror proxies like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis who have been bombing Israel thousands of times? And why is Qatar sitting here as a member of the Human Rights Council when they host the Hamas terror leaders in luxury hotels?
Crickets, silence, of course. He's absolutely right, but it's time that we get to the punchline of all of this. Why is this the case ultimately? Why the obsession with Israel? We complain they treat us different. The United Nations has such double standards. They treat us different to everyone else. And they're right. But here's the punchline that needs to be said. Because people feel sometimes like they're bashing their head against the wall, saying this the whole time. The double standards, and what changes? They're always going to treat the Jewish people different. You know why? Because they know we are different. They know it. But difference isn't necessarily a bad thing. We're fighting the fact that we are different. And we're getting so frustrated, and they're not convinced by what we're saying. They know we are. They insist we have to be treated differently. But maybe we should explore the fact about why the Jewish people are different. Difference is not necessarily a bad thing. It can be a very positive thing. We feel like they're out to get us. The world's out to get us. Maybe we could reframe that word by saying, yes, they want to get us, to understand us. The United Nations, the Assembly of Nations, from a Jewish philosophical perspective, should be understood like a classroom. This is a classroom. And Israel, when it comes to teaching the world about their moral purpose, the purpose for why we're here, bringing God's purpose down to earth, that is Israel's solemn duty, responsibility, mission. Israel is the moral teacher in the classroom of the Assembly of Nations. And when a teacher wants to try and be treated just like all the other students, wants to be liked over being respected first, at least, then chaos reigns. The teacher isn't respected. The teacher even gets bullied. But the students are never convinced that the teacher is actually one of the students. They'll always be treated different. A teacher that fully comes into their role and says clearly and explicitly who they are and what they're come to teach, lays down the law, they're then respected. People say, come on, that's absolutely ridiculous for Israel to start saying to the world, we actually are God's chosen voice to the world. We were chosen at Mount Sinai to bring his voice to the world through his Torah. We can't say that. What do you mean you can't say that? The majority of the world already believes that. They know it. So much of the world's values and moral system comes from what the Jewish people brought to the world through the Torah, the Hebrew Bible. They say, the UN wants to lecture Israel on morality. Israel is meant to be, and has been, historically, the custodians of morality. Ironically, even the UN recognizes this. They have on their wall in the United Nations in New York, there's this wall for peace. And where does it quote? It's got a quote on the wall, engraved into the wall. What is their source for world peace as an ideal? I'll show you. You don't have to just take my word for it. Let's get out the picture. The quote is from Isaiah. And it's a beautiful vision for how the world will look when there is finally peace in the world. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not live sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. It comes from Isaiah, the vision for world peace. So many of the values that the world believes in today were first articulated, first brought to the world through the Bible, the Torah, whether it's the dignity of and the sanctity of human life, education as a human right, family values, social responsibility for the poor and the needy and vulnerable in society, peace as an ideal, justice and equality before the law, separation of powers. I could go on and on. But that's the point. We can keep highlighting the flaws in the way Israel's treated, but ultimately, the ultimate resolution to this, if you believe as I do in the spiritual destiny of Israel and the Jewish people, is for them to for us to fully come into our role and articulate that to the world. And for those that say, well, they won't like it, they'll hate it, that's just going to be so inflammatory. Why don't we try it? We haven't tried it yet. Let's try it and find out.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.